It is ladies' night at Cannington this Saturday night. We've got the final of the Group 2 WA Oaks. Hello and welcome to the Wednesday preview. James Broadhurst with you. Good to be back on the show and back with my main man, the Regal race caller, Hayden King. How are you, Hayden?
Well, I'm glad to have you back, James. So I'm better now, and the racing action doesn't stop. I'm really looking forward to the Oaks this weekend. We've got a good brigade of young female hounds coming through, and it's assembled a quality lineup, and it's sure to be a most intriguing battle.
Yeah, I guess unlike the Derby the week before where there was a clear standout dog, this one looks a bit more even. Why don't we go back and have a look at a couple of the heat winners from last week. Let's start with Flying Frida, and from box 8, Flying Frida gets a great jump and she sweeps across to put herself in front of Tweak Freak here. Tweak Freak gives pursuit and is able to stay with the leader for a bit, but can't make up ground, and Flying Frida is too strong. She puts separation on Tweak Freak and goes on to win this one nicely in a PB time of 29.76. It was only her second win, but she's been thereabouts pretty much throughout her 7 or so starts to date, Hayden. And of course, Flying Frida is out of one of these early litters from Tommy Shelby. If we can digress just a little bit and have a chat about that. You and I spoke with Steve Withers at the Sandgroper box draw about Tommy Shelby as a sire, and Steve was saying obviously Tommy had served a lot of brood bitches, but they weren't quite sure how the dog was going because none of the dogs had hit the track. We're entering that period now, aren't we? Which is kind of the crucial stage for him in his future as a sire, because these dogs are starting to get out on the racetrack. Flying Frida, obviously, one of those. And very early stages yet, isn't it? Like really early stages of his career as a sire. But so far, signs are pretty good. Looks like winners are bobbing up across the nation with Tommy Shelby dogs.
Yes, Steve highlighted that he'd got plenty of attention in the early stages, and then it was coming to the
now's the crunch time, yeah,
where he needed those dogs to start performing on the track to ensure his future as a leading sire. And so far, so good. He's produced the goods, and they look fairly promising, these dogs that he's sired. So
obviously only seen a few, but yeah, so far so good, right?
Yeah, and hopefully for Steve and everyone connected with Tommy Shelby that it continues into the future. But all going well so far. Let's keep the good thing going.
That's the future for Tommy. Let's talk about the now, which is the Oaks final. What about one of the other heat winners? This is a nice run here from Ripping Grace, Hayden.
Yeah, and she's a dog who loves to get down to the inside, and as we'll see on the replay here, coming to the first turn, she's just trying to finesse her way down, and there's a big collision on that first turn, and they all come together and the seas part, and as soon as that happens, there is one dog you want to be on, and Rippin' Grace is within a length and a half of the lead. Whatever shorty hits the front, but not for long. Rippin' Grace surges through, takes the lead down the back straight, and begins to pull away. Whatever shorty actually relinquishes second place halfway through the race, but given her stamina over the extended trips in recent times, she comes back to get second, but it's a remote second, and Vain Pursuit, Rippin' Grace, comes clear to win by an extending margin. And I really like the appetite of this dog. She loves the trips, and she just has a hunger for the line, and that's something that you can't really teach. A lot of these dogs may have the speed on their side early, and being early in their careers, they will continue to get stronger. But Rippin' Grace, she is a very strong greyhound, and her stamina seemingly is bottomless, so she's going to be the one pounding home, and if she's within a few lengths down the back straight, look out.
All right, well, Rippin' Grace gets the lemon in the Oaks final here. Of course, one of two chasers in this trophy decider for Shane Williams. He's got Belmac Blazer out of box 1 as well. Also won her heat. Obviously comes into play, I think, from the pole there. Chris Helse has 2 runners in this one. The aforementioned Flying Frida, also West on Blossom here. West on Blossom's now won 4 of her past 5 starts, and look, does get the pink here, but had no problems from wide draws in the past. Has to be considered in this one. Question for me is with Flying Frida here in box 4, will she jump as well as she did last week? She's got Kanya Mia on her inside, which can jump on occasion, so Canyamere might be a spoiler for this one. Look, I'm also not discounting Disco Daisy and Tweak Freak. I think both of them can play a role. Both have got early speed. Chances across the board, Hayden, who do you like?
Well, I actually do like Flying Frida. I will admit that Rip and Grace is going to be a big danger, but I like the map for Flying Frida. I think she can just about get across and lead the inside field. Belmac Blazer has good early speed without being brilliant. Whatever shorty, I wouldn't expect her to be up there early, and Canyamere does have some early speed as well, as you mentioned. However, I'd be pretty comfortable if Flying Frida was up outside her in the run. Rip and Grace, as we know, won't be posing an early threat to Frida, and then you've got others like Disco Daisy, who does actually like to keep off the inside on those bends, so that could work out okay for Frida, and then you work across to Tweak Freak, West on Blossom, out wider on the track.
But can the Tweak Freak didn't do it during the heat, obviously, but can a Disco Daisy or Tweak Freak challenge Frida for the lead here, do you think?
They can challenge for the lead, but I think the big thing is what I mentioned there with Disco Daisy, potentially keeping that berth absent toward her inside, and providing that Flying Frida can match her, then it's going to work out quite well. So if she's in front, she looks a really tough nut to crack. Just a case, though, of how far Rip and Grace is.
Back, yeah.
If she's snapping at her heels, then
what roadblocks present themselves in her path?
Well, it could work out okay for Rip and Grace as well, because if we do have the anticipated early speed from a few of those dogs, then she can drop immediately in behind them and begin her run. Just needs the rail to open up down the back straight, and she'll be bursting through. It's going to be a really good race, and I think these are some of the best young dogs we've seen come through in WA in quite some time. Going back only a few years ago, the dogs that were competitive and winning Oaks were struggling to break 30 seconds, and we've got a host of greyhounds that are doing it time after time in this field.
As mentioned, Hayden, Shane Williams has two runners in this Oaks final, Belmac Blazer and Rip and Grace. Let's find out what he had to say about them. Belmac Blazer, he said, will relish the cherry, and in a field as good as this, she needed it to have any chance. I expect her to hunt up hard and not shirk her task. And as far as Rip and Grace was concerned, he said the dog's probably in career best form. She'll be giving them all a head start and will need luck at the first turn, but he wouldn't swap her for any dog in the race. So going in relatively confident. He also said, Hayden, that Rip and Grace will be, after this race, will be heading over to Queensland to campaign over there, stepping up in distance as well. That's the ultimate aim.
Yeah, okay. Well, I know, not sure the exact programming of it, but they do have some 600 metre features around this time of year there in Queensland, which could suit her very well. So hopefully all going well this Saturday, we get to see her on the national stage.
Bigger and better things. All right, another race that we like on Saturday night is the one prior to the Oaks Race 5. This is the investinthechase.com Best WA bred over the 520 metre journey. It is a grade 5. We've got Shane Williams and Chris House having two runners in this race as well, as does Corey White, including the likely favourite Dandelup Blazer from the Lemon. I would say tricky draw here, Hayden, but Dandelup Blazer's actually got a pretty good record in yellow, including a win there last start when he ran the quickest time of his career. That was against a small field. Hayden, you called that race. How did you rate it, and can you repeat it against what is some pretty handy types in this one?
Well, James, my qualm with that race is he didn't begin that well, but then he was quick to muster in those early stages, and he found his way to the front. That was it. He just, those first few strides troubled me in the sense that he's stepping up here. This is much, much harder than that, and any chinks in his armour could be exploited by this lineup, because we've got some quality dogs.
We do, but are any going to tackle him and cause him drama early here?
I think they might be, and that's what I'm concerned about, because immediately to his outside he's got Garnet's Gem, who does have some early speed, and then even dogs toward the inside. I can't see him possibly crossing Iconic Indy early. She looks the pace angle and she will lead, but her stamina is likely to ebb away from halfway. So I think the one I'm looking at here is Papa Mono, because he's really strong. very unlucky 2 starts ago, just never got into the race. And then last start had to come wide for the run, and he was beginning to really throttle home late in the piece. So just a case of, again, similar to Rip and Grace, how far back he has to be, but I think he's going to be very, very competitive, and he's likely the strongest dog in this lineup. Not questioning Dandelup Blazer's strength, he continued to get further away from them on Sunday, but I think it could be a tricky map for him, so I'm leaning toward Popomono.
All right, they are the races we like on Saturday night. What about Friday night, Hayden? There's one race in particular we wanted to highlight. This does look like a really good contest here in race 8 between Beach Ridge and Lentil Manelli, two dogs that are similar in a few significant ways here. Of course, both have early speed. Both are lightly raced because they've spent time away from the track to sort out various problems they've had, and both dogs have won their past 3 starts, and both look to have really bright futures. They're jumping next to each other here in box 2 and 3. Look, in Lentil Manelli's case, her current winning streak commenced back in December, and then she won her next 2 starts over the last few weeks. Having a look at her run last week now, that was last Wednesday, and Lentil Manelli here in the red and the blinkers. I think that was part of her problem. She required the blinkers to be able to step out onto the racetrack again. She's way out in front here on the bunny, showing what she can do when everything goes her way. Goes on to record a commanding victory in a personal best time of 29.58, if you don't mind. Questions for you, Hayden. Which of the two, Beach Ridge or Lentil Manelli, leads this one? Or is there another dog in this field that can play a spoiler? Is this a race in 2 or not?
I think it is. If there was one to crash the party, I think it would be Sandpatch, but I think that's at a real pinch. I think Beach Ridge is the one. I think he can just do enough to hold out Lentil Manelli early. It's going to be a good battle between the two. Beach Ridge, I think, takes a step or 2 to get going. Lentil Manelli has really strong early pace, but once Beach Ridge gets up ahead of steam heading toward that first turn, gee, he can really fly. So just a case of burrowing through and keeping that nose underneath Lentil Manelli, and I think he can do enough to lead, and from there I think he is the winner between the two. My opinion. Do you share that opinion, or?
Look, I've been on the Beach Ridge bandwagon for a while now. That run, though, from Lentil Manelli last week was super impressive. Mind you, everything went her way. Got Beach Ridge on her inside this race. Going to be a great contest. Look, I'll probably stick with Beach Ridge because I've been on the dog for the past few weeks, but look, I'm just looking forward to the challenge here. This is going to be a great contest.
I was having a look at them out of the boxes at their last run or two, these dogs, and Lentil Manelli is a pretty straight runner, whereas Beach Ridge in those first 1 or 2 steps he does get left slightly, so that that could help his cause. Redhead Rider is there on the inside, and Redhead Rider does have reasonable early speed, but it's just going to be class coming to the fore, I feel. And then aside from those, Sandpatch is a really talented greyhound, but it's just going to be hard work from out there in 6 coming up against these dogs. I think she's just a rung below, but very, very capable.
Absolutely, not to discount the other dogs in this too, but these two definitely stand out, don't they?
And even, I don't think she can be competitive in this, but Miss Wilder's going really well. I liked her run on Sunday here at Cannington. She was beaten into 3rd place, but she found a fair few amounts of trouble there in the run, and she continued to find the line over 380. 520 is a bit of a stretch for her, but she's one I'm looking at going forward.
Right, that is the clash, we think, the predicted clash between Beach Ridge and Lentil Manelli on Friday night. We've also got racing here at Cannington tonight. First race, 7:03, first of 12. Hayden, what's your best bet for this evening?
Race 9, number 1, Dusty Deluxe. Like this greyhound in this kind of lineup, it's only a 5-6 grade, and he's got a bit of ability. I think he can sit close enough and put them away. So race 9, number 1, Dusty Deluxe.
All right, well, I'm heading towards race 7, number 1, Refined. I think this will be a race in 2 between the two Shinners dogs, Refined and Raised. Both on the comeback trail. Refined, of course, did have that run up at Northam a week or so ago. Did a few things wrong up there, but was still able to get the result. She's got the pole here. I expect her to begin well and use the rail to her advantage to win again. She'll be short, but can't go broke backing winners, Hayden. Isn't that the adage?
What happens when you don't back a winner, though?
Well, that
what
is
happens
the problem.
when Ray's comes out on roller skates and runs 29.60?
There you go. Well, I'm hoping that's not the case here tonight. Race 7, number 1, Refined. That is the show. Looking forward to this Oaks final. It's going to be an absolute beauty. Hopefully you can get down the track to see it yourself. Free entry, of course, as it is every night here at Greyhounds WA. If we don't see you at the track, we'll catch you next time on the Wednesday preview.